M. The Media Project. With fast-moving and sweeping changes to our economy in the works, we all need to reconsider how our investments are best placed. At Partners in Housing, we believe your money is best placed locally. Utilized to increase value and provide stable and desirable housing to your neighbors. Contact Partners in Housing to find out how you can participate in local housing opportunities by joining the Partners in Housing Fund. Look us up at partnersinhousingvt.com or email us at partnersinhousingvt@gmail.com.
Further ado, I'd like to pass the torch off to our moderator for the evening, which is Will Jeffries here from Innovato2. Go ahead, Will.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Dave, Nicole. Let's have a hand for our hosts. So yes, this is our Innovato2 podcast episode. My co-hosts Ryan Munn and Scott Graves won't be joining us tonight, but we do have an incredible audience here. I'm really excited for the Q&A session at the end. Actually, never mind my question. I think we're going to get some good ones from the audience here. But Innovato2, our podcast focus on spotlighting the stories of innovators, entrepreneurs, and also questions about rural economies in the Northeast. So I'm excited to be meeting today with Megan Downey, Akshata Nayak, and Ryan Knackley with their new fund, Compound Good. But before we get into the podcast, I hear we have a video that we'd like to share with our community. Yes? And all the tech running?
If you believe so.
I have faith.
Innovato2 crew member Will Jeffries represented the team for the Burlington, Vermont premiere of a new and innovative funding organization, Compound Good. Compound Good is a nonprofit fund that allows donors to make impact investments with philanthropy, unlocking capital for social entrepreneurs. Founders include Vermont Center for Emerging Technologies, or VCET, Sage Software, and Lawson's Finest Liquids, while supported ventures include Little Pitaka, Local Maverick, and a company familiar to the Innovato2 podcast, Shiki Rap, and founder Megan Downey. Following a viewing of their latest launch video, they sat down with Will Jeffries in front of a live studio audience.
Does it come with directions about how to...
Yes, it does.
Okay, good.
We also have bags now, fabric bags. So doesn't require any consumer education. It's great.
So for our listeners on the podcast, we'll include a link for this video in the podcast episode so people can see this. But maybe just to orient folks that are on audio only right now, we could go down the line and associate some people with some of these amazing ventures that are happening, and then get onto some questions of really digging into this new fund that I'm really excited about, Compound Good. Akshata,
Yeah.
Can we share your side?
Why not? Let's do it. So my name is Akshata Nayak, and I own a company called Little Pitaka. It means little firecracker. And I do educational and inclusive books, games, and toys for kids 7 years old and younger. And the idea is that when parents are looking for products that can help their kids reach the different developmental milestones that they go through, if you think about kids from birth to 7 years of age, usually they're looking for educational stuff, but educational and inclusive don't have to be two separate things. It can be in one. The inclusivity is just a bonus of what we do. What we offer for products are all absolutely helping kids develop vital skills. But when you add in the piece of the inclusive illustrations or the stories and other aspects of it, it just gives them that social emotional learning benefits. It helps them grow up to become global citizens. And that's kind of what we're working on.
Great.
Yeah.
And Ryan?
Yes, I'm Ryan. So I founded Local Maverick. So it's a platform to support Vermont small businesses. So we do that through retail events and marketing. So we have a number of storefronts. We have physical stores, online stores, and then we also support our businesses through marketing services and events to make it really easy to discover, shop, and experience the best of Vermont. And yeah, so we're really excited to be here and alongside these other incredible founders and businesses a part of this program.
Awesome. I can hear when people are looking for gifts, they're in the right place. And speaking of lit, Megan.
Yeah, if you need to wrap it.
But I'm Megan Downey, so I'm founder of Shiki Wrap. We make reusable gift wrap and bags from sustainable materials. And if you think about how the reusable water bottle used to be like this niche outdoor item before it became ubiquitous, that's what we're doing in the huge gift wrap category, is driving the shift to reuse.
Awesome. Thank you. So let's get into the talk about compound goods. So as a native Vermonter who's come and gone from the state many times, had many careers, and most recently come back and been spending a lot of my time working with early stage entrepreneurs, people who are starting new companies, I'm really excited to learn more about this fund. Could you start by telling us a little bit about how this came to be? Where did the idea start?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's take it away. So I spent my entire career in philanthropy before becoming a startup founder. And in philanthropy, I, like many of my colleagues in the field, became very frustrated with some stubborn numbers. So one is that ever since philanthropy has been measured in the U.S. in the early 1970s, it's always hovered at just 2% of GDP, never growing beyond that. So that was one. The other frustrating number was that hundreds of billions of dollars sit in charitable giving vehicle, donor-advised funds alone, not to mention other charitable giving vehicles without being deployed for impact. And just really briefly, if you're not familiar with donor-advised funds, just to level set, it is much easier than setting up a foundation or even writing multiple checks to multiple charities, because you write one check to Fidelity or Schwab or the Vermont Community Foundation, and then the donor is supposed to advise that those funds then be deployed for impact, typically to a nonprofit organization. The problem is it's so easy that many people, they might have a liquidity event or be busy, right? And so they make those donations and then they forget about them. And in some cases, that means that charitable money, those dollars, is actually sitting in an investment fund, right, at wherever, and it may not actually be serving the values of that donor, actually. There's been a movement in philanthropy to try to change this, get those funds deployed for impact, but it's been challenging. And then as a startup founder, I became frustrated with another 2% number that came back at me, which is that about 2% of female-founded startups are able to access institutional capital. And the numbers are far worse for women of color. And so while Vermont has, this rich legacy of being the birthplace of iconic mission-driven brands like Ben & Jerry's or Seventh Generation, the reality is that if those businesses were starting today, they would have an incredibly difficult time accessing capital because they are not tech or AI, which is where the bulk of the capital goes, right? Although Jeffrey Hollander did have a network. So if you have a network, that always helps. So anyway, and also there's about 3 or 4 major funds here in Vermont, institutional funds, that are very important and influential. And so you kind of need to get one of those funds on your cap table if you're going to have a successful equity raise, if it's a serious equity raise. So I sought out to raise capital, was not able to get one of those influential funds on my cap table. I did raise some angel capital, but decided to go out to New York City to expand my network. And that's where I met my friends at LOHAS, which is a firm that is dedicated to democratizing access to capital for impact-driven startups like ours through philanthropic funds. And when I learned that this was possible, like all my bells went off and I became an evangelist for this. I learned about the mechanics. And in the fall, I just hosted a very light educational webinar. It was not a heavy pitch for Shiki Wrap, but just explaining that this is possible. And my company received a significant investment just from hosting that little webinar. So I got excited about that. And LOHA said, Megan, you can either just take the money and we'll take some transaction fees for that, Or because we know you're really passionate about this, you can set up an evergreen philanthropic fund. Can be any mission area you decide. It just has to be a legitimate mission area for social good. And I thought immediately about the work of founders like these, similar to me. We are all mission-driven founders that can create good in the world every day, and need funding to scale. And so, if you saw this video, I mean, they're both incredible, and they, especially in Vermont, they need to win, and we should all win.
Yes. And what a good story of finding this opportunity, this untapped niche, and then sharing that with a community, building a tool, building a platform that could really rise up your community. And the video gave a really great overview of the missions of all of your businesses. But I'm curious to learn more about the passion for social impact. And when you're talking about a social enterprise versus some other business that might be looking to make a profit, for example, and also how those two are not necessarily disconnected.
Yeah, we all want to make a profit.
Yeah.
Sustainable. Hey.
Oh, good.
You're in business. I really clear that.
Yeah. We're for-profit entities, but we say we're like the B Corps of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just looking to find ways that we can reach different parts of our communities and what we can do with that. And so in my case, what I started doing was I was hosting workshops with educators in early ed. So they were, childcare centers, elementary school, hosting workshops talking about the importance of inclusion in children's media. And all of them would say, this is fantastic. We love the products. We want them. But the school budgets and town budgets and state budgets are a mess. And so we can't afford them. What do we do? And so I kept trying to think of how to make this happen. And what I've always found myself really successful at was whenever I launched a product, I would do Kickstarter campaigns for it, like crowdfunding campaigns. And I was good at convincing businesses saying, hey, there's a childcare center down the road from you guys. Why don't you sponsor that childcare center so they can get the products? That way you're supporting my business. I will continue doing the stuff that I am.
Yeah.
More of this will be out in the world.
Yeah.
But you're also supporting them at the same time. And everyone was excited because that somehow supported their workforce and, stuff like that. It made a big difference to them. So those two came together for me. And that's when I launched in Vermont specifically is Vermont for Little Vermonters, because I think Vermont is fantastic for showing up for other Vermonters. So I put that together and made Vermont for Little Vermonters. But this is also a nationwide initiative. It's called Sponsor a School with Little Pawtucka, and we've done it in Denver, in Virginia, and a few other places that, products are getting deployed right now. So the idea is simple. $500 sponsors a school. So it's not a lot if a business wants to do it. It's not a lot if a foundation or somebody else wants to do it. What we're doing now with the fund is we've just upped the scale a little bit and said, instead of just one school or one whatever, do 10, do 20. Like, this is how you can really, if you want to create change, here's your chance to do it. Instead of doing it one at a time, you can do like 20 schools. You can do, and
Yes.
Companies like Green Mountain Power were totally on for it. They were like, we'll do all the ones in Brattleboro and Rutland, because that's where most of their workforce is. So
Yes.
they thought of it as an investment in their workforce. And then Vermont Community Foundation and so many other foundations, the Onda Foundation, Working Communities Challenge out in Lemoyle, they started sponsoring schools by the county. And so, this is something that allows you to have a direct and lasting impact because of the quality of the products we have. It's not a one-time use and throw. There are going to be, years of students using this. And so you're continuing to have lasting impact and allowing a business at the same time to continue the work that we are interested and really good at. We get to continue doing that and you continue to have that. So that's kind of what we brought together.
That makes a lot of sense. Into my product or business model brain, it sounds like developing a product in a way. It's like you developed a product, you found your niche in the market, and then you figured out how to scale that or how to bundle that for different scales of customers.
Yeah, exactly. And so when Megan talked to me about this, I was like, yes, please. Because then again, this allows me to look at things beyond just 1 and 2, right? It's fantastic and I still work with small businesses like Honey Road and the Grey Jay. They sponsored a school. So there are still small businesses doing 1 and 2 because that's what they're interested in. That's what really matters to them. But then I also have the foundations and the bigger companies doing 10, 20, 30 schools.
Yes.
Yeah, like in Denver, we did $30,000 in 3 days.
Wow.
Or getting the products to 10,000 kids there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's impressive. And Ryan, how about on your side, the impact of that social impact of business?
Yeah, and I think just because I think there's already so much that has been said that's been great, but I think there's always this gap, or it's looked at as, okay, something that's going to be great for the community and that's social based, and then there's profitability. And to your point of saying that they don't have to be exclusive. So I think what a big point for me and even launching Local Maverick was, okay, let's merge those two concepts together, which of course there's a lot of companies that have done that. But even when, Megan, you were touching on, okay, a lot of the times there's a challenge of raising capital for what are commonly coined as lifestyle businesses, right? Where, okay, if it's a coffee company or if it's a farm, well, maybe there's not the same growth potential or scalability of that tech firm that if it starts here and then it's able to grow, which there's, of course, a lot of validity to that.
At the same time, those are really the basis, the foundations of our communities, or those Main Street businesses in many ways.
Exactly. And especially if you're talking about a community, if you're picking Vermont, of course, there's a lot of diversity in communities within the state. But what makes that tech company or whatever company, maybe a financial company, those people that want to come here and live here, work here, play here.
Yeah.
It's those quote unquote lifestyle businesses that are making this place so special and so unique. So I think a lot of times we're looking at so many things in silos when it's an entire, it's a full circle, right? Everything is working together. So if our businesses, whether it's the restaurants are struggling and then they're not able to support the farmer, and then that particular product that's add value farmer, yada, 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 then that has a rippling impact on the ability for us to attract these bigger companies that are going to come in and create more financial stability, tax incentives, et cetera. So I was, not to keep ranting on and on, but for us, it was a really exciting opportunity to be able to work on developing a platform that kind of interconnects. We can work with these smaller businesses to help with customer acquisition and scalability, right? Getting into new markets, taking Vermont out into the world. We launched a marketplace in New York City at the Oculus. And then that also connects, though, to, a Rhino Foods or whatever it may be, these other institutions, because it's making sure that we are getting this community out in the world to also attract talent. And then, okay, look at these incredible products, these services, these people that are here, making more people want to come, work, live, and play. So yeah, I think from our point of view, this is an incredible model. And to your point as well, as far as how Little Pawtucket is being able to go to these other corporations to sponsor these schools and get these incredible products that are really necessary for our communities. It's kind of a same and a similar concept of working with these bigger businesses to sponsor, whether it's an event or, a gift basket or something of these incredible products that help to create some sort of financial stability for those value add products. But then the value comes full circle, because then if a client comes into town and they're able to have this really special and incredible experience and they say, oh, I want to work with that Vermont tech company over, San Francisco, because, oh my God, look at all these incredible things in this tiny state.
And it creates that desirable place when you have a whole healthy ecosystem and it's not an either or.
All right. And I always say one important thing that Local Maverick does too for product-based businesses like mine is that you can test out how it does in retail, because if you want to go to larger retail chains, you need velocity. So you need to know what's going to create that velocity. So having Local Maverick as a place to test that out is really valuable.
Yes, 100%. I'd like to come back to those mechanics of the philanthropic funding for impact investing. But first, I'd love to hear about unlocking the capital. How can that deepen your impact that you just discussed?
Right. So many ways. For Shiki Wrap, for instance, so we all have approved projects. I'm sorry, I'm going to start with the mechanics because it's a better way to approach this.
Let's start there.
How does it work, right? So we have that there is a 501c3 that is fiscally sponsored compound good
Okay.
that can accept philanthropic contributions. Giving us the notion. I guess that's nice to see you. That can accept these contributions, and so they are tax deductible. So what happens? So we all have approved projects that are separate from, it's not to fund me going to Hawaii to do some strategic planning, right? For Shiki Rabbit, it's specific grants that we can talk about. I should
May still contribute to the project, but
yeah. And that can be impact investing can either be just a straight philanthropic gift for social good being the return, which is what that would be. And that can be a check of any amount. Or there can also be impact investing with social good and a financial return. So when I mentioned that investment that I took in for Shiki Wrap, it was a significant dollar amount. And that investment went onto my cap table. And when Shiki Wrap has a big exit, the upside will actually grow the philanthropic pool, which if you remember what I said at the beginning about being frustrated about the philanthropy being stuck at 2% of GDP for 50 or however many years, this is actually a mechanism to change that, which was also exciting.
you are unlocking that number.
Yeah. And so maybe if we just preview what the approved projects are.
Okay.
So it's just straight philanthropic funding. Like for us, one thing that we're looking to do is really delivering not only on our promise, our brand promise to our customers, but to the planet. And so that requires things like a life cycle analysis, right? Can I be sure that what our products are staying out of landfills?
And those philanthropic dollars could come in as part of funding.
They would help to support that, along with we can source dead stock, for instance. So dead stock is fabric. It's like this dirty secret in the textile industry that there's a lot of dead stock. So our products, we could use that dead stock. And like there's a lot of great impacts we could have with that philanthropic funding. Or we are doing an equity raise where it doesn't have to go towards those projects, but it's towards our regular expenditures as per a standard equity raise.
And would that still be through the same vehicle or something separate?
It's slightly different, but you can just take your donor advised fund. It's a transfer of money. That's all it is, which is beautiful with donor advised funds. So I'm getting a little excited because the check has already been written. You've removed the friction of needing to write a check.
Yes.
With $250 billion sitting in these donor advised funds when you transfer money.
That's a number that gets attention when you've got a big B out in front.
Yeah. But you should talk about your projects.
She had a whole presentation and dance and all of that. She talked to us about it because she's just like, oh my God. Yeah, I know. Well, for me, it is about getting the Little Pataka products out into elementary schools, childcare centers, and also public libraries. I think especially at the time right now where, I spoke about the inclusion aspect of things. You saw my TED Talk about a portion of it about it as well. We're at a time where a lot of the things that we're doing is all of it's very uncertain about what's going to happen to these things, funding for so many different things are being cut at federal level, state level. So then this becomes important and becomes an important way to get these products out there to people who would not be able to access them otherwise, right? So Title I funded schools, childcare centers, and public libraries are the three that we've tested them out in and had the best feedback from educators and librarians about the type of response they're getting from their members and from their students and from their teachers. So we've collected a lot of this information to be able to sort of build this out and say, we're going to reach 300 schools in a year. We're going to reach, another 100 libraries. So we've listed that out. We don't have geographic constraints, but my hope is to finish Vermont first before I go to others. There are 209 public elementary schools in Vermont, and as of last year, we raised enough funds to get it into 100 of them. So half is left. So that's what I'm doing the work for this year. And once that is done, then, I'll be going out to other states as well. We're already looking at New Hampshire and Massachusetts, trying to sort of figure out the New England region and work our way out. It is also the least diverse portion of our country. And so I think that makes it important to get these products out there so that, if you're thinking about your children growing up and going out into the world, which is what happens now, we're not isolated anymore.
Right.
Then you need to make sure the ideas, the people, and the thoughts that they grow up surrounded by, that's their normal. So what do you want to do? And the idea is to also normalize this, because inclusion should not be like, look at this. It shouldn't be something that's extra. It's normal. That's what society is. It's just not being shown in the products or in the schools and other places.
Not represented.
So that's what we're trying to do, is to raise the funds. So any philanthropic contributions that come either directly, through Compound Good to the whole fund, or separately, then all of it goes towards getting the products out there. People can say specific counties, districts, like we have all of the data down to very
specific.
Yeah, you can get really like, okay, that my kid went to, Brighton Elementary or something, and we'll get it to to that school. We can do it that specific, or we can pull out and say, you have 100 schools left, here's $50,000, go finish it.
Okay. And of those half that you've gotten into so far, how much of that has been through sponsorships, individual donations, or
most of it has been through larger contributions. There have been maybe like 10 or so which were individual, like small businesses that did 1 or 2 schools, but the rest of them were like 5, 10, 20. So they started, that's kind of where I started realizing I could group these together.
Yeah.
It was a bit of like, last year was winging it to see what would happen. You have this idea and you have to, right, exactly. Yeah. So tested it out and we've landed there.
I love that.
Yeah.
And Ryan, how about for you, impact from these funds?
Yeah, I think a big point to make is reaching more people. So I think that, again, everything that we keep hearing, right? There's a million challenges with running a business, but one of the biggest challenges, which is not unique to anyone, is getting the product into more hands. And when it comes to, I think that Little Pataka and Shiki Wrap, that's where we were super excited to be able to have the opportunity to join, because it also, with the synergies of we already work with Shiki Wrap. We're hoping to, at different locations, to be also featuring Little Pataka and the okay. But in the coming months, we'll have Little Pataka at our storefronts as well. So no matter how big or small the business, customer acquisition is always one of the most costly, and one of the most challenging things is not just acquiring customers, but it's retaining customers. So for us, we said, all right, we're using the word platform, right? It's a buzzword. We have to figure out a better word, but platform, right? That's built to support these businesses at the core of it. Customer acquisition, market access. Now, what we ran into was the same as everyone else. Okay, we're gonna help with that problem and fix that problem.
Yeah.
And then we realized, oh wait, but we also need funds to be able to do that. That's right. Yeah, we also need to provide funds for our business to be able to grow. So the scalability of it, and what we've really found the niche in, is being able to connect with, especially from more of the consumer-based products, is a lot of visitors and travelers, and being able to get it into more hands, so then connecting the e-commerce component to it.
Oh.
So a lot of the projects span on customer acquisition to the physical locations, and then being able to build a more sophisticated backend where someone can come and visit. So we have a location at Manchester, Vermont, which we partnered with Split Spirits, so an incredible spirit provider. We also partnered with Bar Hill there, a number of other businesses. So there's an incredible local community, but there's also a huge visitation community. And those people who come in who have the disposable income and the resources to purchase these products, because the unfortunate reality is they're not cheap, right? They do then kind of trickles down, and it supports the smaller communities. But finding those niche areas like New York City, well, New York City is not a niche area, but finding those areas where we can take these niche products and then help these businesses expand and grow. So our projects, Manchester, New York, our e-commerce, and then our partnerships with different hotels. So we've also built out hospitality programs like Hotel Champlain is an example where we've partnered with them on their gift shop and being able to provide when people are coming and visiting. And with their sales team, we have special gift boxes and things like that. So again, you can access and for the customer and for these bigger clients that have the budgets to pay for it, it's an incredible experience that they're able to provide. And then for our small businesses, of course, it's great because it's sales, but it's also a way to get in front of people that would have never, ever found them or have seen them in another term. So we're trying to get more products into more hands, which then hopefully in a few years, looking at us more of an incubator, where then you'll have the next Ben & Jerry's or seventh generation or whatever it may be. And then we're able to grow more businesses here, which then can attract more talent and then be able to, again, like a full circle component of, the workplace. But.
A virtuous cycle. Yeah.
Yes.
Driven by data. Driven by technology. Driven by community development. Driven by the need to get results for your project. SM Graves Associates. Delivering real estate development to you, including project management and pre-development services with a keen focus on delivering community-oriented projects. We build profitable projects that respond to the needs of your neighborhood. Join the SMG family. Find us at smgravesassociates.com.
And I know that we've touched on this a couple of times as we were talking, but some of our audience has been folks who've built a business, understand some of these barriers, but maybe if you could briefly walk us through as well, what are some of those barriers that exist right now to businesses like yours? And how do we break through them? I know that's a lot to cover very briefly, but I also want to be conscious of the time that we have and keep our audience well informed.
Yeah, just quickly, I mean, the funding, like it takes money to start, it takes capital for actually to start a business that's going to scale. And access to capital is challenging. I won't repeat what I already said, but, with a lot of it going to AI and tech, that's a challenge. And then the other inequities. But that's the goal with Compound Good is we figured something out, that there's money there that can be used.
Yeah.
This is just another source of capital.
Right.
So all of us can accept, there's lots of different forms of capital that we could accept in our businesses. That's our own decisions. But this is another really important one. And that's what we hope to do and support more Vermont businesses if this can grow with Compound Good.
Yeah, if we're successful with this, then we can certainly get more businesses on board, and maybe we move on to a different spot of what we're doing, and they get to come in and grow theirs with Compound Good. But I think now the other barrier we have for product-based businesses is we're not sure how much it's going to cost us to bring our products into the country, and so that's something that all of us are dealing with on pretty much a daily, sometimes hourly basis. So we have no idea who spun the wheel and at what number it's going to end up.
And so, if you make a thing in the USA, which we do, but I'm sorry.
That's right. Interrupt you. No, because I was going to make that point.
Yeah.
Okay. If you even yeah, because I've had multiple people tell me this, is even people like Megan Shiki Wrap that makes their product in the US, they still need materials from somewhere unless you're planning to create all of the materials from scratch right here, right? So there is something to say for bringing manufacturing back. We're not going against that, but you also have to understand it's not fully possible with a switch, right? There is a whole ecosystem that needs to grow before we can do that fully here. And if it's possible, we will happily do it.
Right.
And even if we had the capital to create a manufacturing facility, guess where you'd have to buy that equipment?
Yeah. Oh, I see.
It's not in the U.S.
That's a tall...
So that's, I think, so I think that's one of the bigger, the capital, yes, we've all struggled. We've all hit our walls with that and our heads on it multiple times. But it's also now the actual manufacturing of the products for product-based businesses. Megan, yes.
Maybe you were about to ask, but I also think it's important to talk about, but what is the urgency around each of our businesses right now?
Yeah.
Yes. Why now?
Why now? Why is it so important?
Just go.
Yeah. Oh, just go? Okay.
Sure.
So why now? So why is this an urgency right now and immediate for your specific businesses?
I think it's because of just the absolute uncertainty that's surrounding us in so many different ways, in every possible way that personally and professionally, there is just so much uncertainty and chaos. And this is one way for people who already have money that's sitting aside, that they've already put aside for something. There's not a lot of thought that needs to go into it. It just needs to be sent over, right? So there is an easy way to make a difference right now at a time where everything seems really challenging. So that's what I was there.
And erasing the biases, I think we see how important it is to erase biases at an early age.
Yes,
right now.
Definitely.
And that is money already in the fund. You're simply unlocking it. It's already donated. It's already allocated. How do we start to have an impact with that?
Yeah.
Ryan, do you want to say why?
Sure. Yeah. We need it right now. Hell with no. But I think that it's. I mean, everyone is. There's so many global challenges that go all the way from global to national to local. But I will use a shameless plug of Bar Hill as an example. But this is an incredible company. In the bigger scheme, they're still small, but they've had success in being able to reach new markets, get in front of more people. But an example that happened recently was they spent, again, I may be a little bit off on timing and timeline here, but it was a little over a year creating, because all the regulations for alcohol in Canada and specifically from Montreal and Quebec are quite different than anything that's going to be happening and produced in Vermont or here. So they spent the whole year creating all the different labeling, translating everything into French. And so then they had all these accounts that had ordered and they had to change the bottle slightly, et cetera, et cetera. Well, then when the tariffs hit, they had, spent all this time with all this production and they had already sent everything over. But they, again, I might be a little off in the details, but essentially the product was created, it was ordered, it was sent, but it stopped. It did not make it over into the border or to the accounts. So then all of those orders within 24 hours were canceled. And again, it's a really strong brand. It's an incredible company, incredible people, but they're still small, and being able to have an entire new market that they just put all of this research, development, et cetera, into, to then just have that wiped away within a matter of 24 hours is very devastating, because then that inhibits them from being able to support their team, their community. I mean, when the floods happened, the president, Ryan Christensen, and the rest of the team, in their small community outside Montpelier, I mean, they donated so much and they were able to support their neighbors when they were in need. And so again, it's just that trickle effect of something like that, where we are really hoping that through this platform again, but being able to access this capital, where even a business like Bar Hill, where a lot of people within Vermont would say, oh, well, they're pretty big, but it's impacting everyone. And then that does impact us all the way down onto the local level. So I think that urgency of being able to access this capital, especially if it's just sitting there being underutilized or not utilized at all, is really vital, so that we can create that sustainability and that the ability for us to put these resources into places that is going to let us get through these challenging times, to make sure we continue to grow and support our communities. Again, this is not just a Vermont problem, but this international world. This is a national problem right now, and global, as he said.
Can I make just a quick about gift wrap?
Go for it.
Go to getting
this bug.
No,
No.
So I worked in philanthropy. I worked on important issues like solving homelessness and ensuring reproductive rights, and that was great. And however, and those are hard to solve, hard to appreciated that work. When I saw this problem of all this like microplastic covered waste that's going to landfills, and by the way, taking up a tremendous amount of water in this huge market, I just looked at it and I was like, we can solve this problem. Like, we can do this. And I just feel like right now with the changes, there's changes to the IRA infrastructure bill coming down the pipe. Like, a lot of changes are going to be happening in terms of the commitment to climate. So from my perspective, anything we can do, not just Shiki wrap. Yes, that's my obsession, is let's get rid of the gift wrap, but with problems we know we can solve, let's solve them.
And scaling this idea, how can we scale this as a model? And we'll see if we can crowdsource a different term for you and get away. We'll see if we can crowdsource that from our listeners. But yes, how you can scale a model like this. If you found a way to unlock that, I mean, as you said, it's a $2 billion opportunity.
Oh, it's a $250 billion.
There we go. Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
We'll take $2 billion though. So just for this fund, that's what we're talking about, right?
But they'll talk about $2 billion in the Compound Good Fund.
Yeah.
Just as the first example. So I want to be conscious of time. I did have a couple more questions I wanted to ask, but if we are at time, we can open this to our Q&A because with this room, I would really like to get some questions in from our audience as well.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
I think that's great.
Okay, awesome. So let's open this up to a Q&A. And how should we do this? If folks would like to raise a hand, and then I will try and make a fair circuit of the room and watch for folks that have had questions and come back to you if we haven't already answered them.
And you have to stand on this table to. Oh yeah, but there we go.
You see, Ted has a question.
And I might repeat those questions just for the mic here as well, so our podcast audience can catch that.
My question is the logistics. A client, let's say, wants to donate. Now, would they donate to the pool of money, and then in turn, you all determine where it would go?
Or if they had a specific project that they're interested in, like
They can direct it.
yeah. So, for example, we've got our founding partners up there. This is just early. This is our first launch, so we just have a few initial gifts. And so, Lawson's Finest Liquids, for example, supported Little Pitaka specifically. So that can be restricted to the work that she's doing. But general, like our friends at VSET are going to go up there.
DSET up on that list.
That will benefit all three of us.
And it gets equally distributed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And one part of my question is a follow-on question, not a question. Would you be presenting, I'm coming from having clients who are interested in donating, and they like to touch and feel or see or whatever, as opposed to throwing it into the community foundation or somewhere. How would you be making presentations of saying, here's the venue of the effort of all those folks?
Yes. Especially if they're entrepreneurial, right? This might be exciting to them, that it's not just love the nonprofit sector. Nothing wrong with nonprofits. Many of us are working collaboratively with nonprofits,
Same.
But this might be appealing to an entrepreneurial client. Yeah.
And so the question, just for our listeners, was to understand the logistics of how this process would work, whether those funds would go into a general fund and then be distributed at the discretion of the fund itself, or whether the donors would be able to have some direction in that. And then you heard the answer here. And then the follow-on question to that was whether the Compound Good Fund would be essentially presenting a menu of options of projects or levels of contribution.
Is that
good?
okay? You forgot what I asked.
And then there's the straight equity investment, which again, we're not all doing equity days. That's another.
How does that work?
So if you have a donor advised fund, you can just transfer through LOHAS. It does need to be at a certain level, so it's not smaller gifts. And then that goes through a trust, and that sits on my cap table as that one entity, that trust. So that'd be for anybody who does that with their donor advised fund. And then when Shiki Wrap has a big exit, that the upside goes to grow the philanthropic pool as opposed to that individual's pocket. There are more mechanics behind that we won't get into, but and LOHAS in New York is really good at explaining. Exactly.
It is yours, the only company at this point that would take on
that is doing an equity raise right now, using this.
Well,
You got to put it out.
I think the question is what happens if people get involved who are then going to do an equity raise?
Yeah, and I think also part of it too. Just what's part of the challenges too, as a startup, as we know, is even understanding. Okay, like when I first started, I was like, I've watched Shark Tank. Yeah, I'm gonna go and pitch, and I'm gonna get these investors. And I was like, okay, no, that's not how that works. But I think being interested, this is a nice vehicle though, just to say, to really try and develop more of that one-to-one relationship to understand. So I think just to say, being open to investments. So I just want to make clear, it's not like we're like, we're not doing we're not taking investments, but it's being able to utilize this as a vehicle to really try to understand
and develop relationships.
Yeah, and those relationships, and making sure that there's also the interest from the social impact standpoint, which again, like I had mentioned, it's a lot of times they're separate. So this is a really interesting vehicle in being able to make sure that there is the component of, okay, we obviously want this to have a really great return and we want this to have a financial impact. But we're not actively raising, but we definitely we will be raising and using this as a vehicle.
But given, Tom, your
Direct question.
activity and support in the startup ecosystem, if there was an impact-driven startup that wanted to do an equity raise and had prospects that would want to do it with their philanthropic funds, I'm more than happy to talk with them. They don't need to deal with Compound Good was an added extra that basically I didn't need to set up. I wanted to set it up because I'm passionate about this. But I'm also, as you can see, an evangelist for this happening. So if there's folks in the ecosystem that might want to raise this way, I'm happy to speak with them and share the information.
We had a question actually at the back first, and then I'll come over to Lauren after that.
Hi, my name is Nora Devlin. I'm a creative financing consultant is the best way I've come to. Yeah. And my question is a little bit about the mechanics of the fund. So something I've seen when I've been working with mission-focused founders is some of them are pretty wary of giving up control in their businesses, whether because they want to eventually sell them to employees, put them in a trust, or just stay with the business the whole time and stay aligned with the mission. So I'm wondering, have you put any consideration into vehicles, either that's flexible growth debt or structured exit investments that kind of allow founders to maintain control, at least in the long term?
Well, I will say, repeat it, Will. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. I know it's slightly awkward. So the question here was essentially vehicles for debt or equity investment that allowed founders to retain control of their business, as that can be a strong concern, especially with impact-focused ventures. Did I capture that?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So the beauty of working with Compound Good, with our pilot partners that are not issuing equities, they're not going to lose any control. So that won't be an issue. Okay. So if there are mission-driven, I mean, we could talk more. I mean, obviously, I didn't want to expand this to 50 startups, right? I wanted to work with people that I knew and trusted, that I believe have a strong philanthropic case for support, initially demonstrate some success, and then hopefully can grow. But I'd also be happy to talk, about specific cases.
Okay. I guess just my question was for those that are actually in where you're expecting a financial turn, would you be open to eventually kind of trying out some of these other vehicles if you think it'd be more to straight equity fund?
I mean, I'd love to learn more. I'm just learning. I'm just a startup founder that was trying to raise the capital and ended up starting a fund. You did it, Bo.
And Lauren.
Wow. So it was actually funny. Your question was so good because I was wondering, would this be something for like revenue-based financing, all that stuff? So you kind of beat me to the punch. So, but I have another question that is, it's more kind of like big, idealistic question, which is, I think what you're doing is really important because we are always hearing about, AI, blockchain, the big data. Like we keep going through these trends in tech where it seems like everyone's throwing their money and consumer products don't get the same, love sometimes on the public side of things. In order to amplify this, because I think it's so cool, have you actually thought about sourcing donations from trade associations in your sectors that have a real reason to make a donation and then amplify that donation to their constituents?
So the question that was asked was, has the team considered speaking with trade associations within these related sectors who might have an interest in amplifying this work further?
No, thank you for the idea. One thing I have thought of is there's a particular beverage brand that's known to be a big plastic polluter. Yep. My company recycles a lot of plastic. They have a big philanthropic arm. I've thought about some of those strategic connections, but not trade associations.
I'd be thinking about basically you guys touch so many different trade associations that I would imagine have some type of philanthropic arm. And why wouldn't they want to amplify doing something like this? Is pretty cool.
It's awesome. You guys are doing a great job. Thank you. Means a lot coming from you.
Thanks, Lauren. Do you have time for more questions?
Maybe just one. We'll be around after. Maybe
Okay.
just if there's one more burning
We have
question.
one more burning question from this audience. Yeah.
I feel like you had a question. Okay, you have. Okay. I saw a hand. Okay, so I guess kind of two-parter. One, you kind of talked about right now, it's the three of you. Is there a plan to open this up to other businesses? That's number one. And number two, how do you measure impact? Because like for me, I mean, I've known Akshata for a while, and you see that impact directly. And I'm not saying that there isn't impact there. I can see like, oh, amazing website visuals, etc. So I'm just curious how you'll all be presenting that impact for the folks who are donating.
So a two-part question. The first one being, at what point are they planning to consider opening the fund to other companies, other businesses? And then the second part of that, how are they measuring impact within the Compound Good Fund?
You guys wanted to say briefly how you think about impact in your projects, and I'll do the fund.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we've created questionnaires, like surveys, fewer than 10 questions, mostly yes or no, because teachers don't have time. And basically just to see, they received the products, how have they been used in the classroom? Have they been accepted well by the students? Are there any special stories that they want to share? Like there are places they can expand on things if they want to, but most teachers just want to go yes, no, 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 blah, 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 and done. So we've created these surveys and it took a little bit to get that together. So we weren't able to, if I send it now, I think the teachers will stop using my products because it's almost summer vacation. And if I send them a survey now, they'll be like, no, thank you, please burn these things. So I'm waiting for the next school year to send that out. But it also gives them a little extra time to have used the products and probably have more information to share. So I'm fine with that. So we have those surveys ready to go. We just haven't been able to send them out yet. But most of the foundations that have worked with us have all asked us how we measure impact. And so that's how the whole idea came up. The other thing that we're doing is also creating teacher guides. Because it was interesting to me when I was talking to some people about this was if there needed to be a DEI curriculum to get these products out. And I was like, no, they're jigsaw puzzles, like literally.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah, don't overthink it, right? And so, but what we did do was create teacher guides with other teachers on board to share this with the educators in libraries, in childcare centers, age-appropriate guides, so that the teachers can use this adequately in their classrooms. And then we get responses on how that's been. So that's how we're doing it, is we're doing both of those things.
Yes. Hey, and I think that just about wraps it up.
Oh, no.
I'll just as far as impact, just for measuring it, it's a little more straightforward for us. As far as, since the way that we operate is we can look at a direct sales impact. We have a number of KPIs built in, so we can look at, especially if we're onboarding a new business, and it's going to look at, okay, what are their direct sales? What are the impressions that they're getting through the website? Or if it's an event, how many people are attending? So there's a whole slew of KPIs that we're able to actually measure the direct impact of a specific initiative. And a big kind of more straightforward way too that utilizing these funds to just the onboarding process is the amount of businesses that we're able to support onboarding. Because as you know, working and onboarding, whether it's people or businesses onto a certain platform or a network or a new system, that is extremely time consuming. And then you break that down into like working with 100 of myself, small business owners, like, whoo, that's a nightmare, right? I love myself. I love all these businesses, but it's hard and it's really time intensive. So a lot of the funds are going to being able to have more staff to be able to look at, okay, what are the resources that we have that one, we can bring on these businesses, because there's a lot of time and effort that goes into that. So we have different partnerships where the businesses that aren't able to pay for the partnerships for these services. So that's one, essentially subsidizing, like whether it's social media, e-commerce, or events. And then with the businesses that are already in the existing network, being able to break out for each campaign that we have, we're looking at a certain set of goals and understanding, okay, we'll take New York City really quickly as an example. We're going to host a pop-up event in New York City, and we're going to see, all right, there was 500 people that came through. We generated $1,200 in sales for brand X, and just being able to really utilize and look at the numbers to understand what is that impact, which again, right now is primarily financial, which then then what are we able to utilize those funds for? And then we work with Vermont Works for Women a lot. So if we're able to pull more funds into, we can do bigger initiatives for Vermont Works for Women. And again, just that financial impact of the businesses we're working with directly, that then we're able to reinvest right into the community, et cetera. So,
and just really, so for Shiki Wrap, the philanthropic funds raised, it's all about really going deeper on measuring our impact and being more credible and not just making marketing claims that we don't really have all the
information you were talking about.
Life cycle analysis, exactly, and some other aspects to it. For the fund itself, absolutely, I would love for this to work and to have it support other businesses. That would be amazing. We're starting with the three of us because let's get some success under our belt. But the impact in terms of how we would look at success tonight is a success, right? The three of us kind of have been talking about this, thinking about it. We're like, can we get people in a room that care about this and want to learn more? We did that. And we raised $5,000.
Should answer.
That's how, right now, that's our short term. And hopefully, as things go on, we can measure it more long term.
That's like you create another job for yourself. So.
Yes.
She tends to do that.
Yeah. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you all. This has been amazing. I really appreciate your sharing the whole story, breaking down the mechanisms for us. I'm excited to release this podcast to get our crowdsourcing. Is that a term y'all hear?
Yeah.
And thank you all for attending. I think the team still has a couple of minutes afterwards. There are snacks, there are drinks. Feel free to enjoy the space. And I think that's a wrap.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
SMG's Are We Here Yet podcast is a production of M the Media Project and SM Graves Associates. Learn more at smgravesassociates.com.